Hello, all, Isos here. We're redoing the Nautilus guide because I don't have the raw footage for it anymore, but the previous one just muted randomly in the overview section. So I'm just going to quickly be redoing it. If you've already seen that video and you don't care about the overview section, you can skip this. There's no need to watch it. But we're just going to quickly get into it. For too long didn't watch, the biolinks for the increased perfect block effect and the one for cooldown reduction are both very good, and they're very good together. That would be the main focus of what's going on here, whereas the perfect block opportunity increase is not as impactful. As always, when discussing biolinks, the third and fourth levels here, so level 3 and mastered, are the same. They're just the master just allows you to swap it out and to put it onto other suits. So for the biolinks here for Nautilus, there are 3 biolinks. Countercharge, which greatly increases the defensive weapon's effects following a perfect block. There's only one defensive weapon at the moment, that is the arc barrier. This increases the perfect block total duration from 2 seconds to 3.5, effectively adding an extra 1.5 seconds of perfect block effect, which was only 0.5 to begin with, 0.5 seconds to begin with, so that's quite a lot. Block lock is the next one. This increases the perfect block opportunity by 0.5 seconds, so with a level 3 arc barrier, that would go from 0.5 seconds already and would become 1.0, effectively doubling the perfect block opportunity time. And the last one, Surge Override, decreases recharge time of defensive weapons by 40%. So defensive weapon, the arc barrier has an 8.5 cooldown, yeah, recharge time on it, 8.5 second cooldown, so that becomes 5.1. It works like it says on the tin, and that is a stat that you can just check out on the Weapons Advisor screen. For picking biolinks, there are 3 possible situations that I can think of, and they're all, in this case, because it's Nautilus, Nautilus only has perks for defensive weapons. If you aren't using a defensive weapon, you will never choose any Nautilus perks. Now, if you choose all 3, obviously there's only 3 here, and you would be choosing all 3 of them. But if you only have space for 2 perks, I would recommend Countercharge and Surge Override. The reason for this is that gives you the maximum uptime of your defensive weapons, because the perfect block effect increases the duration of the arc barrier, and the surge override reduces the recharge time. The combination of the two means that your invulnerability will cover more of your recharge time, and you'll end up in a situation where you are vulnerable for less time. If you can only get one, I would pick one of these two. And I think which one you pick would be, so countercharge or surge override again. I would pick one of those two. And the reason for that would be that the technically countercharge gives you better uptime, even if it's the only perk that you've picked. But uptime isn't the only thing to consider. If you need to trigger your arc barrier twice in a room, you might need surge override more, like if you're expecting to be running forward, because you will get more uses in a shorter duration of time. So for speed running, I actually think if you were speed running and only get one biolink from the Nautilus, you can only afford one biolink from the Nautilus for whatever reason, the surge override is probably better because you actually get more uses in the short amount of time. If you have the opportunity to back up and wait out the recharge, then it's not going to matter that it's a few seconds shorter. In which case, countercharge would be better because that will let you'll be more likely to survive the instance that you need it for. So if you're just like swapping one perk off of the off of a suit and you are expecting to be speedrunning, I would probably go for Surge Override because that will mean that you'll be able to activate your defensive weapon more often. Whereas if you're expecting to be like ducking in and backing out of a room to try and clear it and maybe collect your ammo, counter charge I think would be better because you're more likely to be in that perfect, more likely for that perfect block to save you as you get the perfect block from whatever attack first hit you. The reason I don't recommend block lock in any of these cases, obviously besides if you were to run all three things here, is that you can learn to perfect block better to activate your shield a little bit closer to the time to get the perfect block to do this to get the perfect block to get the perfect block effect. Whereas you can't learn to make your shield last longer or recharge quicker. And that is what it comes down to, and why I wouldn't normally recommend block lock. It is good, and you'll definitely feel it. It feels a lot easier to get perfect blocks when you are on a full Nautilus suit. But I but when it comes to needing a perk from somewhere else, this would be the one that I would drop in pretty much every case. Uh, but anyway, that's it for the Nautilus guide. Hopefully this one will have sound the full way through. And we're going back to the regular thing, which will be the next guide should be the Falconic Plasma Bow, which will arrive in a week. Okay, I shall see you then.